Hi there Libra, thank you for joining me for your year 2014 forecast. This year begins with a dramatic connection between the Sun and Pluto in your sector of home, of your emotions, and it could be that something quite big is set to change or is changing as you enter this new year. This is a repeat of the influence of last year, but it's more precise this time insofar as Pluto changes things, whether we want it or not. Sometimes we make the choice, but the Sun is at the heart of the solar system, so it's the driver, and it may be something that you're beginning to embrace more. Change is something that some people say that they don't mind, but I think for most of us it's not always an easy process. And what's in your situation this year, which is profoundly different from last year, is the role of Mars. Mars is going to be with you for a uniquely long time. This is a fantastic opportunity. It entered your sign in December and it's going to be with you right through to the end of July. So that's pretty well near to 8 months. Now Mars usually takes around 6 weeks to work through each zodiac sign. When Mars is in our own sign, it gives us tremendous drive, a determination to succeed. Mars is about ego, it's about realization of ourselves, it's also about instant gratification, and in our own sign it makes us jolly impatient to get to our goals. And that may be something that you're going to have to marshal and grapple with at times this year. But let's examine your personality, because you're very diplomatic, and sometimes for you it's as important that other people are as comfortable with what you're doing as what you're doing. Well, this role of Mars is going to give you much more thrust to do what's right for you. And that could come as a wake-up call and a shock to some of the people that you encounter. And that can happen right from the start of the year, because Mars is going to be in opposition to Uranus, the planet of surprises, which is in your sector of relating, as it has been for the last couple of years, and it will be for the rest of this year. And all this, these 4 planets come together and forge a T-square. It's not necessarily easy, because the Sun and Pluto are about security, whereas the Mars is about doing it now. And sometimes, therefore, some of your moves this year may seem to go against what's best for you, because you're so impatient to crack on and get things done. And of course, with Uranus in your shock and awe zone, as far as other people are concerned, your attitude to others can also be more dramatic. I think for you this can be absolutely brilliant. It can see you shake up your whole situation in a thrilling way, but it does mean that at times there's going to be some reverberations from the moves that you make. Now later on in January there's also going to be another T-square. This one involves Jupiter. Jupiter is opposite Pluto and they both square up to Uranus. Uranus and Pluto are going to be in a square for all but 3 months of this year. This is a very, very difficult transit. It's been going on for you for some time, near to 2 years. And essentially what this has been saying to you is that something has been making you very, very restless, especially around where you're living and who you're involved with. At one minute you want an intimacy, the next minute you want space. It's hard for people to keep up. With Jupiter in the mix as well, what you've got to be conscious of is Jupiter is in your sector of ambition through till the middle of July. Now it could see some real big breakthroughs as far as your career is concerned, but if there are some changes, it may also reflect on where you're living. For example, you may get the job of your dreams, but it may require you to relocate. Now if a partner's not so happy about that, it may impact on your relationship. So it's almost like that throughout this year. At some level or another, you can move forward dramatically, but there may be some fallout from this that you have to deal with as well. But Mars is certainly going to give you a lot of confidence, and I think that's fantastic. It's going to give you a lot more vitality as well. Remember, Saturn moved through your sign until a year and a half ago as this new year starts, and it's been moving through your sector of resources, and it's going to continue to do so this year. So you may have to be cautious around your costs still. And of course, Saturn does tend to go backwards for 5.5 months each year. That kicks off for you earlier in the year too. But what this is all teaching you is a tremendous amount of discipline, that if you follow what's right for you, even if you don't get the immediate rewards, eventually your buccaneering style is actually going to cause some fantastic breakthroughs. It really can. Now in the spring there is going to be, or the spring I should say, in the northern hemisphere, in the autumn in the southern, there is going to be 2 eclipses, one a lunar and one a solar. The lunar eclipse is actually in your sign. And that suggests if you're unhappy about relationships, it can certainly become a major thinking point for you in the following 6 months. But it pairs up with a solar eclipse in Taurus. And for you, this is very much to do with your longer term resources. So here, I think that need for Mars for you to have recognition is also going to see you wanting to get results in a fiscal kind of way to build up your resources. And again, I think that is possible in the second half of this year, but whether it's going to mesh up with your relationships quite as sweetly as you would like, well, that's another matter. Now, once we get through to July, then Jupiter is going to be moving, and it moves into a brilliant sector for you for the last half of this year, the 11th solar house, which really asks you to think long term, to set your sights higher in terms of your neat aspirations, not just in terms of goals, but your dreams. And it's a very friendly and sociable link, and certainly can do a lot to lift your spirits throughout the rest of the year. But Mars leaves your sign at the end of July, moves into Scorpio, and then in the last 2 weeks of August it is going to be going over Saturn. Now if something isn't quite working out around your finances, then there can be a lot of tension. But the weird thing about Mars conjunct Saturn is it also can bring fantastic breakthroughs and results. It's just we really have to work hard, feverishly so, and narrow our focus to be absolutely disciplined. But a breakthrough is possible if you really put the commitment in. In October we have 2 more major eclipses. This time they're in converse. And you're being asked to think much more about yourself, your motivations on the back of the lunar eclipse. And then the solar eclipse is much more about resources again. But I think they're going to improve. But the way that they're going to improve for you this year is by showing flair, showing artistry, showing a dramatic approach to situations, and not being so focused on other people's approval. That's really the message of this year. But for you, it can also, all of this, see a transformation on who you are as a person, your whole attitude and relationship to yourself, your own being at the deepest level. Thank you for joining me. Good luck and goodbye for now.